Right now on KGW News, dry, warm, and windy. A recipe for fast-moving fires.
The chief said if they'd been another minute or two late, the house would have gone.
How crews in Vancouver scrambled to save homes as one fire sparked, then another. And a driver's dash cam captures the trip he thought he wouldn't survive.
It's a very scary moment, it's very disturbing.
What someone hurled at his windshield from the middle of I-5. Plus,
I was just like, what the heck is this doing in my yard?
the strange object that has Troutdale neighbors worried, someone shooting at their homes. Then, police try to put a stop to speculation.
We're back with new fears of a possible serial killer in Oregon.
Why they now say there's no reason to think any of these deaths are connected. And we begin tonight with an extensive and revealing indictment against the suspected arsonist accused of burning his own Portland apartment building to the ground. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. This evening we have learned that authorities say Garrett Rep set the fire the very morning he was about to be removed by law enforcement. Catherine Cook has more.
3 weeks after fire gutted the May apartments in Southwest Portland, the building continues to crumble. At the same time, pieces of the arson investigation are coming together. On Monday, a grand jury indicted 30-year-old Garrett Rep on 55 charges. They include arson, recklessly endangering another person, and animal abuse, since several pets died.
There she is.
Blue here and her owner, Nick Gomez, are some of the lucky ones. According to investigators, Gomez is one of 16 residents who were in the building when the fire started. 6 were asleep.
If I didn't have my dog, we would be having a different conversation right now. That's for sure.
Gomez has been living in a hotel for the last 3 weeks as the Red Cross helps him and his former neighbors get back on their feet. He hopes to move into new permanent housing this week.
I hope to resettle and acclimate very quickly. I just want this chapter to be over with.
Newly released court documents reveal details leading up to the 4-alarm fire. The building's owner told investigators that Rep had been evicted but was still living in the building. He added that Rep had cut a hole through his apartment wall and had started living in the unit next door. On the morning of the fire, he said Multnomah County Sheriff's deputies were scheduled to arrive at 11:30 to remove Rep from the property. The fire started around 10 a.m.
I never thought that I'd be waking up that morning and that would happen.
According to court documents, Rep had been terrorizing neighbors for months by pulling the fire alarm. Public records noted the alarm had been pulled 16 times at the building since February, the most recent incident 2 days before the massive fire. Investigators also traced possible evidence of arson to Rep's apartment. That's where a specially trained dog found several samples of possible accelerant. They sent those samples to the state crime lab for more testing.
We go by the building, multiple times a week.
Gomez is grateful the case is moving forward with a suspect he and others had long believed responsible.
Now we have it verified, so now no more wondering, no more guessing.
Records show Rep was originally evicted back in March. Since then, he'd been arrested 4 times as eviction proceedings carried on. Reasons included criminal trespass, criminal mischief, and disorderly conduct. Rep remains behind bars, awaiting his next court appearance. David.
Catherine Cook with the update there. Thank you, Catherine. Developing right now, a burn ban is going into effect for parts of the area ahead of another hot, windy, and dry day. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue issuing this ban for all the areas they cover in Washington, Clackamas, Yamhill, and Multnomah counties. Meanwhile, firefighters in Clark County got a taste of how fast fires can spread when 2 suddenly sparked near each other this afternoon. Alma McCarty talked to neighbors who said the flames were too close for comfort.
Clear, cloudless skies in Vancouver suddenly filled with smoke.
I called over to my neighbor who was on the other side to see if he was burning something, and he wasn't. So we saw the smoke, and he went out and checked it and came back and said, "There's a fire, call 911.
Several homeowners backing up to the Burnt Bridge Creek Trail, like Corrine Walleman, told to evacuate due to a brush fire on the hillside.
They came to our door and said, "Leave now." So we left.
10-foot-tall flames burned uphill through the thick vegetation, driven, firefighters say, by strong winds. Vancouver Fire reporting it took 35 firefighters to bring the 2-acre fire under control.
The higher the wind is, the longer it's going to take for us to officially say that something is under control, because we're going to take a lot more care and a lot of time to make sure that the fire is truly extinguished and hasn't jumped or moved to another area.
Just before 4 p.m., several crews rerouted. Firefighters headed to a second fire shortly after the first, this one between Northeast 55th and 56th, where an abandoned shop and tree fire threatened several homes nearby.
You see the tops of those trees right there? Both those two trees there, they were like matches. Flames all the way up to the top.
This fire burning much closer to houses like Rocky and Suzanne's and closer to several apartments.
Looked out our bedroom window and literally the fire was right there at the fence line about 15 feet from our window.
It became so intense in our backyard they had to call in another unit, and 2 trucks came over here, and thank God the chief said if they'd been another minute or 2 late, the house would have gone.
Firefighters quickly extinguished the flames, but stuck around to make sure no embers had spread. Luckily, no one was injured in either fire.
We had just cut our grass 2 days before, and it was thigh thick. Cut your grass, keep it low,
Exactly.
Hose it down.
Like the fireman suggested when we got back, get a sprinkler and keep everything wet.
Vancouver Fire reminding everyone to keep a defensible space around your home free of debris as we enter the summer months. In Vancouver, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Cut your grass. So glad everybody is okay. Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now. We now know the name of the man shot and killed by police at a Vancouver Safeway last week. He's been identified as 43-year-old Joshua Wilson. Wanted, investigators say, for 3 recent robberies. Police say they were trying to arrest him at the Safeway on Mill Plain and Andreessen. Investigators say when he came out of the store, he started running, then pulled out a gun and pointed it directly at an officer. 3 Vancouver officers and a Clark County Sheriff's deputy fired at Wilson. In Portland, police are responding to growing concerns on social media of a potential serial killer in the area. This comes after the deaths of 6 women over the last 4 months. Detectives are now saying they do not believe the deaths are in any way connected. The 6 women are between the ages of 22 and 32. Detectives have ruled out foul play in the death of 1 of the women. The rest remain unsolved. In Lane County, deputies are looking for a suspect they say is armed and dangerous. Jason Page is accused of shooting someone in the back in Eugene on Saturday during some sort of dispute. The victim was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. Page is 5'8" with multiple tattoos. If you see him, immediately call 911. And a Longview man who survived 5 days in his truck after he crashed into a ravine has now died. You may remember a friend went looking for 56-year-old Dan Stansbury on May 21st after he'd been missing for several days. She noticed tire tracks on the road near his house and saw his truck at the bottom of the 150-foot ravine. Fire crews set up a rope system. They hauled Stansbury up. He was taken to the hospital, though unfortunately it appears his injuries were too severe. Well, tonight, nurses at 3 Providence facilities have voted to authorize strikes. Those are Providence Portland, Providence Seaside, and Providence Home Health and Hospice. The nurses say they are concerned about what they call eroding patient care, unsafe staffing levels, and inadequate wage and benefit packages. Providence says it is disappointed in the strike vote and calls its offers to the nurses union, quote, competitive. Now, negotiations continue, and the union says it will give Providence a 10-day heads up when it calls a strike. For the first time in 7 years, people in Multnomah County can apply for what are called Section 8 housing vouchers. It's a form of federal rent assistance meant to help people who make at or below 50% of the area median income. In Multnomah County, the median income is $39,000 for an individual and $56,000 for a family of 4. Back in 2017, Multnomah County stopped handing out the vouchers because they didn't have enough funding, though the federal government just announced Oregon will get an additional $1 million for the program.
There's definitely plenty more work to do up top for us to be able to create more housing opportunities for our neighbors out on the streets.
I have to take care of myself now. I can't worry about 5, 7, 8 years down the road. I have to worry about now. I need a place today.
Yeah, and this is why Chris Harvey there is worried about the wait. Only 2,000 people who apply this year. 2,000 will be picked from a random lottery. Then their names go on a wait list. From there, it could take up to 3 years before they actually get a voucher. The deadline to apply is Friday.